Thank you, Felipe, and welcome everyone to today's session on the launch and roadmap update for Studio V3, Fliplet's AI-first software builder. I am very excited about what I have to show you guys today. I am your host for the day. I am Tony, the head of product here at Fliplet. If you have any questions that you want to ask or suggestions that you would like to share, you can do so at any time. It is all shared privately via Zoom's Q&A feature. If we have time at the end of the session, we will go through them. But in the unfortunate circumstance that we do not have time, that's fine too. We will take a look at them, all of them, and then get back to you individually afterwards. Here are a few things of what we're going to cover today. We will first go through and briefly talk about what Studio V3 is and why we went on the journey to build Studio V3. I will show you a few things of what we have been able to build using Studio V3 so far internally. Some of them are fully working. Some of them are sort of ideas I've been playing around with, and we've had a lot of fun building those things, and hopefully you will enjoy seeing them too. I will then go through some key features that we think will be important for all of you, and thus will have certain information that you'll find useful. And then right before finishing up, I will clarify what's going to be available and what we're going to be launching today, before then finishing up with giving you an update on some of the other features that we're also going to be working on for the rest of the quarter and the rest of the year. Fliplet's AI journey started around 2023, where was very soon after ChatGPT became known to the world. And we very quickly then introduced AI features to our apps. Some of the early examples included universal search within your apps, as well as the use of advanced analytics, where you can use AI to assess what people are doing inside your apps. Last year, we launched our AI feature component, where you can describe the feature that you want added to your app, and then and it can sort of build whatever you want. Gone were the days of using customized components, and you can essentially build what you want on every single screen that you want. And this year, Fliplet Studio becomes truly AI first, where you can build and control your entire app through describing what you want with AI. But why did we build it? We were noticing that a lot of ideas in our clients' firms sort of never really got built. And there were a few common reasons why this happened. The discussion and the scoping of what needs to be in those apps, they typically take longer and then the appetite lasts. So by the time that the teams have really nailed down what they want to build, usually people have lost interest. And then so that time has passed. It's also quite often quite hard to visualize for the stakeholders to really know what they're agreeing to, because it could often be quite time and resource costly to go and build them. So people have to go through a lot of sort of processes and rounds of reviews and feedback to determine, do they actually want to build it or not? And that really leads to the ideas simply stuck between the people who came up with the ideas and the people who are kind of waiting to build them, who are really, really busy. And that is often because there are lots of small ideas as well. They are not usually sort of a flagship sort of apps and projects. And sometimes they could just be like, I just want a quick expense form just to manage a small event that I'm running. But there's simply not enough time to go through all the processes that I just talked about. And the reality is that AI is making all of this a lot easier. It's much easier to create ideas and then form prototypes and then share those ideas. And yeah, so these are all the problems that Studio V3 was then designed to solve. And so Studio V3 is Fliplet's AI-first software builder. The way it works is that you describe what you want, you see it take shape, and then you make it yours, adjust it to your heart's content until you're happy with it. So what can you build in Studio V3? I will go through 5 examples. Starting with the first one, I will go through and show an event registration example. The event registration example started off with me describing that I wanted an event app that shows some basic information about the event. and I needed a registration form. And then I sort of specified what kind of registration process that I wanted. This is a use case that lands on our front door quite a lot with our customers wanting to build registration forms and registration sort of data collection processes for their events. The reality is these are often quite customized to exactly the type of data that these events need, as well as to the internal processes of how people want to work and manage these events. And the event managers, they all have their own preferences across different companies. And the thing that we quite often hear is a long list of requests of what they want these registration apps to do. And then they will usually end with a sentence, honestly, we haven't seen anyone else solve this problem. And that's because most of these softwares are trying to be sort of event software vendors, whereas we are sort of a software builder. You can quite literally build whatever you want. So let me show you what I managed to build, starting from the simple prompt that I just mentioned. And then I think it took about, with this app, maybe about 7 or 8 additional nudges that I then gave to AI to form what we eventually saw today. So you can find some pretty basic information about the event, when and where it's going to happen, a lovely image of the venue, and then some standout features about the event or what people can expect, and the sort of the atmosphere in the venue that people can expect to sort of see. There are some tickets and sort of different information about each ticket for people to choose, and then some speaker information for some featured speakers as well. There's some partner and sponsor information that you can find, and you can add whatever logos you want here. And then at the bottom, there's some featured sessions, as well as some frequently asked questions that you can add and update. And so this is a fairly stock standard sort of a promotional web page for your event. Now, there's also a program, sort of an agenda page to kind of let people know what's going to be happening and what they can expect from the event. But the most interesting part, of course, is the registration part that I was just talking about. And in this case, I've sort of picked 3 different types of tickets. So let's go for the full summit pass and click on continue here. And I can provide some like basic information. Tony Wu, head of product, company, Fliplet, and I'm just going to go with my email here and continue. And here's a common situation where within a event, people then have to pick the sessions that they want to join for the day. So you've got day 1, there are 3 different ones, and we've got a sort of a drag and drop to reorder. So if I move that to the top, that's my top preference, and maybe this one is my last preference. Day 2, I'm going to move that one to the bottom. Otherwise, I'm happy with this. And day 3, how to use AI to improve team management. Yeah, pretty much like to hear about that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this as well. So I'm going to click on continue. And then I get to sort of confirm whether I'm happy with this. And then I just going to complete the registration this way. It's pretty simple to put together. As I said, it started off with a description in my own words about what sort of process that I wanted. And then with a few nudges, it sort of gave me quite a lovely event website and registration process. The next app is an event app, which then comes with the event registration as well, if that's what you need to do. And in this particular example, I started off asking that I needed a pretty simple event app with agenda as well as networking features. I think those were my initial description. And then later on in the process, I then realized I think I want note taking as well. So I simply said, I would give me note taking as well. I sort of added another tab along the bottom to give me the note taking feature. And then with the networking, I was going, you know what, I quite like this, but let's add some AI features to the app as well. So the app itself, not only is it built by AI, but it also has AI functionality built within. And this is what we ended up with. So I've got a next session in 12 minutes reminding me of that, and then some suggested matches of people that I might be interested in talking about. And maybe we are sharing the same track of events that we're going to be seeing. Some of the interesting features here is that I have an AI concierge feature. And if I want to know where I'll be going next, so AI is going to sort of walk through the agenda. And then here we go. It says my next session is the cross-border. Yep, it kind of matches what it says up here at 9 o'clock. But I would also love to know who I should meet to talk about employment law. It'll be really great to meet someone there. Okay, here we go. Looks like it went through the attendee directory and employment tracks. And yeah, looks like we've probably shared 2 separate sessions as an overlap. So that would be great. Priya Patel. Yeah, maybe I will bump into her. And then I also have a pretty stock standard agenda where I can see everything, and then I can RSVP to some of them to say that I want to join them. I can switch between different days and then different filters as well. We've also added a feature here where if I then click on the session, it sort of gives me a form to ask Q&A during the Q&A session. And the networking feature is something that was quite fun to build as well. I'll be honest, I say fun to build. It's actually not that fun. As a product person, I would prefer to sort of piece it together bit by bit and build it. I think it's kind of disappointing in the way that I just described an AI just kind of built it. So it's sort of like it was over so quickly. But I don't know. You call that fun? Not fun? That's kind of up to you. But with a book one-on-one, you simply sort of pick a person you want to book a meeting with and go pick a time, and then that's it. And then the request has been sent and confirmed, and then it's added to my bookings of my meetings. There is also a networking feature, and this was sort of a test. Here we go. So it opens up a camera. So if I have my business card with me, I can sort of scan it, and then it can work that way. So I'm going to close that. And then there's also the notes feature, which you can see a couple of notes that are already sitting there. So that's the event app. As I said, you could have started off with sort of 2 or 3 features, and then I sort of added notes afterwards. It sort of really shows that instead of having a big event solution with sort of a bloated set of features that I don't want, that I don't have much flexibility over what I change, I can now build exactly what I need and have a really simplified experience for the people who are attending the event. And next, we have the corporate directory. Corporate directory is a pretty popular solution that our existing customers are using. And what we really wanted to show here is what it would be like to integrate with a SAML 2 and all the different features as well, and what a really, really good corporate directory could look like. And here it is. So in this particular case, we've integrated it with Microsoft Azure ID. So if I click on that, I've got a separate window. Here we go. Yep. So I'm logged in there. And now I'm logged in. So here we go. I have a directory full of a bunch of people that I can see. I have practice groups that I can switch between. And I can also run filters on Singapore, for example. And I can pick a person and see their data. Now, for the sake of this particular demo, I've sort of built in a toggle at the top so that if I am logged in as an associate, this is what I will see. The direct line and mobile number will be hidden. And if I'm logged in as a partner, then I will be able to see the full information. There is also an org chart. The org chart gives you sort of a reporting line assessment here. I can zoom in and out and pan around. And I can also see it grouped by practice group. And for this particular law firm in this case. And then also by office. And I can click through at any time and then find out more information about them as well. So in this particular case, if I sort of click on the arrow here, then I can find out more information in here. What's really exciting is that we also have an AI search feature. And then, so if I wanted to find out who has, let's say, private equity fund formation experience, I can click through and it will basically search through the skills and the matters that they have worked on, and then eventually be able to give me some recommendation. Here we go. And then I've got Sarah Goldstein matched on private equity fund. Okay, that's really exciting. So let me just check whether I do want to talk to her. And if I do, I can click on request intro and say, hi, Sarah. We should talk. And here we go. And then I can send a request. So this was kind of fun to build as well. I think I particularly was sort of it's quite fun to kind of see this sort of org chart come together in a really interactive way. I quite enjoy seeing that. The next example is a client intake example. In this particular case, we've come up with a sort of a fictional small law firm, and that sort of takes in sort of family law and that sort of cases. And this allows customers and their clients to sort of fill in information and go through what is commonly known as a KYC, know your customer process, where then you have to provide your information and go through an automated check to confirm that you are indeed the person you're saying you are, and then takes you through. This would usually require a third-party API integration to run through all the passport checks and so on. In our particular case, because we didn't really have access to those APIs, we sort of come up with a potential workflow for how this could work. And although it isn't fully connected to a database to get that working, what this shows that you can quite easily build something like this as a prototype to sort of find stakeholders internally for them to agree on the type of project. Back to my earlier point about it could often get stuck in this sort of a scope and documentation hell where your idea never really surfaces to get built. And if you build a prototype, sometimes it's a lot easier to convince stakeholders. In this particular case, I simply talked about the client intake user flow I want the client or potential client to go through. And then it sort of, ended up building this for me. I think in total, this was, because I had to work with some camera features as well. I think this took a slightly longer to build, maybe about just under 20 messages back and forth with AI to get this built. But nonetheless, it was quite exciting. I think it maybe took about half an hour, slightly longer than some of the previous ones. So here's a prototype of what it will look like. So welcome, Sarah. Let's open up your file. So pretending I'm Sarah here, trying to sort of be sort of register as a new client. I can kind of say what I need help with. Let's say I need help with family law and the type of matter. No, not children act application. Let's say it is about divorce. And then very much similar to the registration process, this is kind of the case where if you have a very unique decision tree and workflow that you want to take the user through, you can sort of design the form the way you want it to. So I'm just going to quickly sort of take you through all of these. And then once I've filled in all the information, and then is there any name of the opposing party? So I am divorcing with Smith & Co., let's say in this case. And I can basically go through with this and it sort of verifies, so in this particular case, I need to verify with my passport. Now, where is my passport? Here. So here we go. Let me scan the passport. There we go. I think that worked. That looks like me. And then I can skip that. And now I have to do a liveness check to make sure I am indeed me. Here we go. 98.4. Yeah, I guess that is me, almost. And then the user flow for this is then that, it will go through some sanity check on the information and then confirm that I am indeed me. And then last but not least, typically for something like this, there needs to be a conflict check just to make sure there's no conflict of interest. And in this particular case, it does look like there's a potential conflict being detected. So let's see. In this particular case, again, if I'm building this prototype for an internal review, then I would have say to the stakeholders, and this is what the partner view would look like. So in case we're a partner, I'll be seeing that there's a new intake for Sarah Jen, but then there is a potential conflict. Maybe I have to give the case to someone else, or maybe to a different firm. So I can sort of figure out actually is there or isn't an actual conflict. Type in the information. No real conflict because XYZ ... and then I can approve the override. So yeah, this was quite a fun one to make. It's being sort of building with a sort of a camera integration, and then if this project got approved, I simply pretty much just have to stress test it and connect it with a third-party API to complete the know your customer process, and that's it. Right. Last but not least, in a pretty simple way, we also just kind of built a pitch deck. This is really just kind of showcase the fact that with Fliplet Studio V3, it is not just about building apps or websites. You can pretty much use it to build a lot of different digital experiences as you want. So with this particular project, we then built a Broom PLC pitch deck for an accounting firm. And you can kind of see that the layout is sort of a nicely spaced out like a deck. And then there's kind of a really beats a lot of the sort of presentation tools that you would have typically be using. And then just by talking to AI and loading in the kind of information you want, you can sort of build out the entire deck. There are a few key features I just want to quickly rattle through. These are features that I think really sort of stands out. Apart from the sort of talking to AI and build your app, I think there's a lot more sort of adjacent features that we think is really going to support your experience in building your apps. Starting with enterprise security, brand control, code access, version control, and accessibility plus SEO. So I will just kind of talk through some of these points briefly. On the point of enterprise security, security has always been from day one of utmost importance to us here at Fliplet. Your usual authentication options that you might expect in other apps, such as email and password verification or one-time password, where you receive a one-time passcode to enter into your app, as well as sort of SSO with SAML too, though all those are still supported. The interesting thing is that now that AI is controlling sort of the mechanism through which these are wired together, you're able to have much more flexibility as well. For example, if you want to have email and password, and then also a two-step verification where people enter a code, you can do that. You can chain them up together and then have your apps work that way. Data sources and files. Data sources are essentially the database system powering our apps. They are very important to make sure. It's very important to make sure that they are secured with very specific access rules. For example, if you have an expense app internally, you probably want to make sure the receipts are not accessible by anyone other than yourself and maybe the finance team. On brand control, if you have any existing branding style guides, or if you don't, you just want to sort of point AI at your website URL, you can do so. And by sort of providing these references, including, I think we've also tried uploading really just like a deck, a document that is branded in a certain way, and it'll sort of pick up on the styles and the colors and the fonts, and then sort of implement that for you. Once it has picked out a branding, it will be as consistently applied throughout your app. And you can also change it afterwards. Sometimes it picks out on some of the branding, but doesn't quite get applied in the way you want, especially if you're trying to create a new digital experience that your branding team has never really created a brand style guide for. So you can just describe any kind of changes you want to say, actually, I don't want the red at the top. That needs to be at the bottom as a circle. Kind of however you want to sort of describe it in a very specific or an abstract way, AI can kind of figure that out for you. And looking at the event app created earlier on, here are some examples of how different it could look depending on your branding. If you have developers in your firm that is used to building apps in the way that they want, you can also sort of pair up the sort of AI build process as well as having a code editor access. We are giving them the access to all the code from the first character to the very last character of your entire app. And they can change whatever they want. And this is something that is new. We really think that it's really going to sort of empower the developers to sort of make any changes they want, integrate third-party libraries, and then have a lot more control in knowing exactly what is going on, and that it isn't entirely a black box. We also have version control and version history sort of added throughout the system. And that means you can make the changes through AI safely. At any point, if you realize it's sort of gone down the wrong path, either AI has interpreted the wrong thing, or maybe it hasn't interpreted the wrong thing, but you simply changed your mind. You can roll back your entire app, not file by file, not screen by screen. You can just roll back the entire app to a previous point, and then you can sort of go from there again. Rollback is available not just on the apps, but also the data that you load into the apps, including the data sources as well as files. Last but not least, we have also optimized the system for SEO and accessibility as well. For those of you who are going to be launching these as websites or want to make sure that accessibility is an important aspect, usually for maybe the public sector and so on, AI is able to help you directly configure all the metadata and so on to make sure that they're all compliant with all the best practice. Here are some interface to show you about what that process might look like. You can simply review the steps that you haven't or haven't completed, click on Setup with AI, and then it will recommend the changes, and then you can review them to figure out sort of whether they're appropriate or not before applying those changes. And so what are we launching today? The whole process of being able to use a one sentence brief or one paragraph brief to getting a working software that is all ready. We have things like design mode and code mode that allows you to configure your brand as well as have access to your code. Version history, as I said, that's available already. And then we have lots of sort of little tools here and there to make sure that if you want to refine and adjust your app, you can sort of do that however you want. So you sort of usually what we find is that it's really quick to get it about 80% of the way. And then the rest of it is really down to your ambition of what you want to see. And then that could be quite a fun process to kind of explore different ideas, roll back and then try different things, make a copy of the app and try different things. It can I'll just say be careful. You could end up spending days and nights, not because you need to take that long, but just because you don't realize how much time you would have sunk into it because it's kind of fun, to be honest. And so all of this is available in Studio V3 Beta today. If you want to have access, just speak to your account manager or the sales team to get access for your team. And coming up for the rest of the quarter, as well as for the rest of the year, we're still working on lots of things as well. We are going to be providing app templates, and these will act as starting points for the common app types. Although you can build apps entirely using AI, Fliplet has many years, decades. I would say probably about 1 decade. This is probably a little over a decade is how long I've been working here. So we have a lot of experiences on what makes a good app. So we do believe that people want to see those templates. We will providing pretty stock standard app templates that people can use. Once you take them, you can then modify them as you want as well. You can completely have ownership over the entire app experience. And then you're also going to be able to add integration with any services that you want and with any connections that you want to set up. There will be more ways for you to shape your project. Now we have AI on one hand, where it's super flexible that you can just use everyday natural language to talk about what you want. You can also have code at the other end of the spectrum, where you can have direct access to how the binary ones and zeros work. But we have everything else in between as well. Sometimes you kind of want to see something visual. People still want that sort of drag and drop experience, or people still want to be able to click on something and say, I just want this thing slightly different. Can I not talk to AI about it? So there are a couple of things that we're going to be implementing so to make everything in between as easy as it can be. And more importantly, we're going to be implementing a lot more sort of AI features, not just to help you build your apps, but maintain your apps, monitor your apps on the engagement. And if you want to promote your apps by getting more users onto the system or promote it on social media, we'll be able to sort of help you with that as well. We have lots of ideas that we want to work with. The team at Fliplet is super excited about them. So there's going to be some continuous improvement and new features being shipped throughout the year. Right, Q&A. Let's see if we have any questions. Here's a good one. How much would it cost? Indeed. How much would it cost? I won't spoil the fun for our sales and account management team. So I'm just going to say, speak to our sales team and account manager, where you can find out more. And does the system work well if I switch between code and prompting? So yeah, so as I said earlier on, we've got sort of a two ends of the spectrum that you can use prompting, which is what they call it in AI, where you can describe the changes that you want, and you can also code directly. And yes, you can change them back and forth. If you go over to code mode, make some changes to the code, you go back to prompting. Next time you talk to AI will pick up on all the latest changes of your code, so that it continues working from that point onwards. And let's see. Oh, yes, I just got a new one here. Does the platform work on all browsers, especially Edge? Yes, it does work. We just recently did a few rounds of testing directly on Edge. We did find a couple of minor issues here and there, but then we found out that those issues weren't really exclusive to Edge. And as we are in the beta phase, those are the kind of issues that we're trying to sort of iron out to smooth out. but certainly Edge is supported and it's not a problem. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's all the questions. And so, yeah, so I really hope you guys enjoyed the session. I certainly enjoyed putting together those examples to show you guys. And then, if there's any other questions, then we will sort of answer them afterwards and send you back those responses. So, yeah, I will hand it back to our host, who will continue to the next session.